The following is a presentation of Sinistra Manus Productions. It is intended solely for educational purposes. Please follow and like us on Facebook and YouTube for information on upcoming seminars, interviews with the masters, and other multimedia productions. Dan Medina was born December 22, 1953 in Brooklyn, New York. After enlisting in the Navy at 17, he circumnavigated the globe multiple times over his 22-year career. During his travels, he explored many different cultures and martial arts. The Navy introduced Dan to combat judo and Navy SEAL quick kill methods. During his first tour, he had many opportunities to test and refine his skills while on anti-terrorism patrols throughout the Caribbean. He was stationed in the Philippines during martial law, where he was assigned to the Philippine Constabulary. Here, Dan was tasked with responding to violent protesters and helping to retrieve AWOL soldiers and drug dealers. To better prepare for his missions, Dan earned a black belt under Master Ricardo Mendoza of the Black Master Sphinx Karate Clan and started his journey in Eskrima. Once he returned stateside, he continued to study Eskrima under Grandmaster Nari Babao. When the Navy decided that Dan needed to move to Hawaii, Grandmaster Babao arranged an introduction to Great Grandmaster Brulio Pedoy. Today, Grandmaster Medina provides a direct lineage, a Derobio Eskrima, from Great Grandmaster Pedoy. Dan has always emphasized learning from other masters and styles wherever his travels take him, which have included Thailand, China, Hawaii, Hong Kong, Singapore, Australia, and the Philippines. He currently holds a black belt or higher rankings in Black Master Sphinx Karate, Kyokushinkai, Kun Tao, Sawanda Kobudo, Sagasa Aikido, and Derobio Eskrima. Because of his contributions to the martial arts, he has received numerous awards and accolades. He has an honorary doctorate in philosophy and has been introduced into the International Karate and Kickboxing Hall of Fame, the USA Black Belt Hall of Fame, the Action Martial Arts Magazine's Hall of Honors, and the World Head of Family Sokship Council Hall of Fame as founder and grandmaster of the Majipai system. He has continued to spread the knowledge of the Derobio Eskrima through frequent seminars and with his excellent reviewed book, The Secret Art of Derobio Eskrima. Sinistra Manus Productions is pleased to help Grandmaster Dan Medina with continuing this great art. Thank you for joining us, both for the seminar and for the video cast that we're doing now.
Well, thank you.
We've certainly appreciated the introduction to Derobio Eskrima and all the various locks and submission holds that, as you've seen on the video and stuff.
Yeah. Well, the Derobio Eskrima, I had been training with Grandmaster Nari Babao, who taught me the Arnis Batangas and Arnis Kuntao, basically his family style. And it was my turn to move to Hawaii. And I'm thinking, oh, who am I going to study with? You know, I don't know anybody in Hawaii, you know. And so Grandmaster Nari Babao said, okay, I want you to, look up Guru Snooky Sanchez, okay? And, he's really good. He trained with Florville Braille, and, he has his own system, and, the guy's really good. But I also want you to make sure that you stop by and see Grandmaster Pedoy, who's retired right now, but I still need for you to go out there and pay your respects. Mm-hmm. So when the plane landed in Hawaii, we took a taxi cab to the hotel, put our luggage away, and I went and looked in the yellow pages, and I found Grandmaster Pedoy's phone number, and I called him, and I go, yeah, I'm a student of Grandmaster Nari Babao, and I was told to come by and pay my respects. And he says, oh, well, just come on by. We'll be waiting for you. And so, wow, that was really quick, right? So me and my wife, we took a taxi cab to his house. And we got there, and I was telling him how much I wanted to learn, and you know how I've been doing Filipino martial arts for so many years. And he goes, "You really want to learn?" And I says, "Oh yeah." And he goes, "Well, if you want to learn, be here on this day." And that's all she wrote. I didn't go look for anybody else. I was told he was retired, but he goes, "You want to learn? I'll teach you." I dropped everything and boom, there I was. And I became his student.
Outstanding.
You know? So it was luck or divine whatever, but it just has happened throughout my martial arts life that when the need arose, the teacher was there.
Outstanding.
It was, you know, the lesson plan was there. Basically, you know, everything was taught from the basics, okay? From the warm-up to your strikes, okay? You learn your basic striking angles. You learn your basic defenses. So everything was building up on everything else. So it wasn't like a house of cards that could easily be tumbled. Mm-hmm. It was, okay, get your basics down, you know, your 1 through 12, your defense, and the defense, you know, we worked that to death, you know, and for 40 years I've been training my basics, right? Because I'm always teaching the basics, mm-hmm. and my basics are really strong. So people go, "Wow, you're really good." No, I got really good basics, you know, and so we work the basics, and then on top of that, okay, now we start adding the counters, mm-hmm. right? So, okay, so what are we doing? Okay, we're taking off the hand. It has the weapon, you take the hand off, right? Then you go from there. So whether it's, you know, cutting here, cutting there, but everything was very precise. You know, the areas, the targets were, this is the target, that's where you're going for. So you're not just flailing around and hitting whatever, you were going to specific targets. And so there was a lot of targeting drills. Mm-hmm. And then once we got to that, we went to, okay, now you're striking, I block, and I am trapping your hand, whether I'm holding your weapon hand or I'm snaking your weapon hand, right? Some kind of hold, I am preventing you from using your weapon, and now I'm going to strike at you. And then, okay, so we went to that part. Okay, because that's what's going to happen. You know, usually, you know, you'll get into a scuffle and all of a sudden your weapon is tied up and you can't use it, right? But the other guy has his weapon and he's in there doing all of this while your weapon hand is out here. So we started going, okay, well, that's only the basics, right? That's the beginning, mm-hmm. right? The beginning. So our stuff begins where a lot of other people's stuff ends, right? A lot of other people's stuff ends when you already have me locked up and you're hitting me. Well, that's where we begin. We begin from where you have me locked up. That's where we start. And then we turn the tables on you, right? Oh. And so there were 144 of those basic counters. And, you know, and they all encompassed basically doing damage to both limbs, mm-hmm. right? So the lock wasn't just on one, it was on both. So they're both locked up, so you can't use them, you know, unless, you know, like Master Pidoy sometimes said, use your head, right? Which is a little secret between us, right?
Indeed.
Yeah, but, you know, it was, it built up, and it was always, you know, when we were learning the 144 counters, you know, we worked them, you know, and, you know, we go from, you know, 1-1, 1-2, 1-3, 1-4, 1-5, to where you go through all 12 angles from one locked position. Then you go through all 12 angles from the other locked position. And then you hit the other variations that are in there. Mm-hmm. And so you were always trying to figure out, okay, what can I do when somebody has me all tied up? right? If you don't know, you're all tied up and it's over. If you know, or you have the key, there's always a key to the lock, you know? And so the Robio is like the master key to the locks. You know, so it's been a very good martial art in that it's been good to me. You know, so that's how I got introduced to the Robio. Well, the Robio, to me, I call it the old man's art. Okay, if I was, you know, a frail 90-year-old and there was a 200-pounder, you know, carrying a big stick, and he came full blown, you know, 100%, I am going to take your head off. You know, me as a little old man, I'm not going to be able to overcome his strength. But I can always parry and get behind him. And so it became more of, you know, I want something that works when I'm young and something that's going to work when I'm old. And so, you know, all styles have two sides. You know, there's you have the hard, you have the soft. Okay, and so my philosophy is that you need to know both. You know, you need to know. Yeah, I need to know how to stop that hard blow. It's coming in and boom, and I'm coming in there and I stop it with all I've got, and I come in there and I counter and do my stuff. But I also need to know how to get behind that blow and get behind you. And so the whole premise is just don't get hit. You know, make the blow miss, right? Don't be there, you know, and so you know, it's just, you know, I don't want to fight you. I want you to fight yourself, you know, and again, I want to get behind you. If I'm behind you, you can't see what's hitting you, you know, and that's the Robio in a nutshell. It's getting behind the power, getting behind the blow, and then reacting. How can you make something work if you never work it, right? It's like, you know, I could practice a disarm a couple of times and I say, yeah, I got it, you know, that's fine, you know, I can do that disarm, you know, and then when the time comes, you don't know when the time presented itself for you to do that. But if you work it to where you're constantly doing, let's say you do a strip disarm, but you do it from different areas, you get to it from different ways, and you recognize how to get there, right? You know, how do I make a distraction to where you're not thinking about what I'm going to do next? Then I have the opportunity to apply what I work. It's the same thing like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu when it first came out, right? You know, it's like, how can you make something work or defend against it if you know nothing about it, right? You know, Jiu-Jitsu has all those wrist locks and they can employ them, but if you don't know how to reverse it, you're toast. So you have to work it in order to know it. And if you know it, when it presents itself, if you've worked it enough, you'll be able to pull it out of your toolbox, okay? Is it something you go out looking for? No, it's something that presents itself. And when it presents itself, if you've worked it enough, you'll recognize it when it presents itself. But if you don't, you know, it's going to be like anything else. You know, it's like taking a self-defense seminar and then thinking you're a master, right?
Outstanding.
You know, right? It's not going to work. You know, you can't make it work if you don't master it. You have to put it in such a way that they will answer that own question for themselves. You change, you know, you can change the like turning the tables almost, right? It's let's say you show somebody a knife disarm, okay? And then all of a sudden, they're not letting you apply it because you already showed it to them. And so now they go, oh, so I can do this to get out and I can do that to get out. So that's not going to work because I can get out. So what I do, I says, okay, let's try it again. And I'll do something totally different, right? And boom, get him. And I go, okay, why did that work? He goes, because I didn't know it was coming. Exactly. So if you don't know it's coming, how are you going to be able to, counter my move if you don't know that it's coming, right? So, you give him the idea, it says, learn it first. And then we'll go to the next step on how to counter it. And then once I teach you how to counter the knife, I'll teach you the counter to that counter. So it's always something that's going to build up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that it just doesn't stop at the first counter or the second counter or the third counter. It can go quite a few counters if you can develop your skill high enough to be able to do a counter after a counter after a counter, And it's like being put in a wrist lock, right? You put somebody in a wrist lock and you got them in a wrist lock, right? But it's easy to change that wrist lock and counter it. And then it's easy for you to recounter if you know how. And then you recounter that if you know how. And then the loser is the guy that runs out of counters, right?
So.
But again, it's just letting them know that, okay, in order for you to learn something and learn it well, you have to help somebody else learn it,
Mm-hmm.
right? So now, if I'm helping you learn, then I, in the process, have to dissect it to go in and go, okay, I'm teaching this to him. How can I explain it to him in a way that makes sense for me to show him how this works, right? So in the sense, if you take that student and say, okay, help him learn this, then he himself is learning why that works because he's trying to teach it to you,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so you try to make the students help the other students learn. And if you always helping each other learn, you can't help but help each other climb that ladder,
Mm-hmm.
right? If I just want to fight everything and this guy wants to learn, well, the guy that wants to learn is going to continue learning. The guy that wants to fight everything, he'll kind of get stuck here because nobody's going to want to work with him,
Indeed.
right? Nobody wants to work with a guy that thinks he knows it all,
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times I just show him, hey, you don't know it all, and I'll show them stuff that'll, holy cow, open their eyes, and then they'll go, okay, I see where you're coming from, and then they'll go, okay, I want to learn. But, if you're going to be disruptive and try to hold the class back, I don't need you. I don't need your money, I want people that are willing to learn. And in order to learn, you have to empty your cup. I learn from other people all the time. I am not, the know-it-all. I might know a lot, but there's a lot out there to know. And so we all have to keep growing, and I've been doing Filipino martial arts for 40 years. That's longer than a lot of Filipino martial arts practitioners have been alive,
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I'm still learning, okay? So if somebody like me is still learning, right? Then you take the guy that's only been doing it for a year and thinks he knows it all, it just, he's not going to progress very much. It just depends on the feel that I get,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, you know, I get to a place and I'll go, okay, we're gonna start teaching this. And like today, you know, or yesterday, when I started teaching, I noticed, oh, these guys are picking this up pretty quick. So I can add more, right? And so I'd rather give you more than less.
Absolutely.
You know, and so, but I also want you to understand it and also know why what I'm teaching you, what makes it work, right? Because you need to know why it works, not, holy cow, that's such a great technique. It shouldn't be about the technique, it should be, what's the principle behind what made that work, right? And so the principle was what? Making the weapon miss, right?
Exactly.
Not having your body in the way of the weapon when it went by, right? And so, you know, because, hey, I care about my body, you know? I don't want to get hit. I don't want to be injured, you know? I don't want to sit in front of you and trade blows with you. I want you to swing and miss, and then I want to connect, right?
Exactly.
And so, you know, I make you miss on purpose, right? Because that's what I was showing you guys. When we were doing the passing, what was happening? Your weapon was missing. Yes, it was going right in front of our bodies, right? And it wasn't touching us, right? We were making that weapon miss intentionally. And then now your weapon is out of place, your hand is out of place, and my weapon is right in front of you, and I don't have to move very much to hit you. And so it's always better to hit than get hit.
Yes.
Right? And so that's what I want to teach. But I also want you to understand that even if you don't do it exactly the same way I showed it to you, if the weapon missed, it worked. Right? So a lot of times the students would come and it says, you know, I didn't do it exactly the way you showed it. And I go, did you get hit? You go, no. Okay, then it's worked. It's good. Just keep on going, right? The only time that the technique, if you change it and you get hit, then it didn't work. Then I'll say something, right? Because it didn't work and you got hit. But if you do it a different way, even if you go force to force, you know, my first thing is going to be, did you get hit? You go, no, I didn't get hit. Then keep doing what you're doing. Just keep, don't stop. You know, if I'm showing you how to pass on number one, pass it and get behind the guy. So you pass, you could check, and your checks have to be strong. They should be jarringly strong, right? And so you come in, you check, boom, and you come in and you do all your power hits, right? But then that one time it comes and I just wasn't ready, and I go pop, and I block it force to force, and then I come in and move it, and then come in and do all my hits. As long as I didn't get hit, it was good. It's valid. I'm not going to complain about you not getting hit, you know? But I will be mad if you get hit, you know, because I'm teaching you to avoid getting hit.
Absolutely.
You know? So just remember, you know, did you get hit? No? It's good. Well, you know, normally if I go to another instructor school and to their seminar, right? If I get invited, sometimes I get invited to seminars where there are multiple instructors, like the last gathering, right? So, you know, you go in there and you want to see the similarities between the systems, you know, and you want to see the differences between the systems. And then if you're taking the class, right, if you jump in there and you participate in the class, you know, with me, I normally I shut my mouth go in there, do everything everybody else is doing, keep my thoughts to myself, because that's how it should be. You should always pay respects to the person who's running the floor, you know, regardless of whether you agree with what he's teaching or not, you know, because there might be times that they're teaching something and you go, I will never ever use that. You know, 10 years later, wow, that was such a good technique, you know, and right then you didn't realize that, but later you did. You know, it's happened to me. You know, I've learned from a lot of different masters. I've been very lucky, and you know, one of my first masters was Punong Guru Ricardo Mendoza, and he's from Baguio City, and he was a guy that he could back up anything, right? You know, I remember one time, you know, we were in Guam, okay, and we were in a bar, and it was me, him, and a couple of other sailors, and 20 Marines, okay? Well, the Marines were making jokes of us. You know, they were going, squid, and, you know, just calling us names, and they were wanting to pick a fight, you know? And, of course, you know, Ricardo Mendoza, being Ricardo Mendoza, wasn't going to stand for that. So he gets up, and he walks up to them, and he says, okay, you guys want to fight? All right. I will take you one at a time or all at once. Your choice. Okay? They backed down fast.